How was your 2025? That's a question that, of course, I'd love to hear what your answer is. So shoot me a comment below or send me a DM if you'd like to share a little bit more with me about how your year went. This is the time of year we start to see this, right? Year-end wraps, everybody's putting their Spotify wrapped out, and I've seen a few people talking about their words and what represented the year for them, and even starting to think about, some of the words that they want to embody for next year and that kind of thing. I had a really hard time at first coming up with how I would describe this year. This year was intense. I don't want to go with that word, but it was. I managed to achieve a lot of my biggest goals of the year. I started teaching yoga and I launched my business and my coaching business, and I started recording on social media, which is so outside of my comfort zone, by the way. And there was a lot of things that were really good, right? I made a lot of new friends, which was such a wonderful thing to do, but it also gave me some places to lean when I went through some of the more intense periods of the year. We went through all kinds of really great new milestones. My daughter got her license and turned 16. Those two things happened in the opposite order. But also I got to see 3 of my favorite artists in concert, which, concerts a lot of the times they're my outlet. They're my big thing that I really love to do. That's just something that makes me happy and brings me joy. So those were a lot of the highlights of the year. And I think that when it comes to the things that were hard, it was a lot of things that just felt like too much all at once, right? There was so much pressure this year. It was so intense at the times that it was intense. But I did get the opportunity to work through a lot of things that had been kind of weighing on me for a really long time. And a lot of the new opportunities allowed me to work through a lot of old patterning and things like that. So, at times that was some of the real intensity. But as somebody who tends to be overcommitted, over responsible, that kind of thing, one of my biggest learnings coming out of this year is that I really need to put some focus on dialing things back, right? Just because there's space on my calendar doesn't mean I have to fill it all with something. Because when you leave space, there's space for the good things to come in, but there's also space for when there are challenges. It doesn't, press things to the breaking point. So some great learnings throughout the year as well. So I think for me, I've decided that I'm going to wrap 2025 up with calling it messy momentum, because it was messy. But I also made a lot of really big steps forward. And I think for me, when I look at some of that messiness, that's often where we're laying the foundation, and kind of kicking the door open on things that maybe haven't been working for you can be really difficult, and trying to strive for new goals and that kind of stuff can be difficult. It brings up a lot of things and it can be challenging, but it also gives you the opportunity to create a new foundation. So I think that when I look back at 2025, that's a lot of what I was doing, was creating new foundations that allowed me to move into 2026, focusing on focused growth. So I think that's going to be kind of my phrase and my thoughts, and my thing that I revisit in 2026 is really starting to prioritize what is most important to me, making sure that I'm not taking on anything that doesn't move me in that direction, in the direction of the things that I want to go, so that I can have a little bit more space and flexibility with my time and my energy, and being able to continue moving towards growth. I think that when I think about that, the thing, when I look at all of my goals and I'm slowly starting to flush out what my goals for 2026 will be, I think the vast majority of them are around building relationships, right? Building relationships with people I want to do business with, people I want to spend my time with, all of those types of things. So, I think when I look at focused growth, it's growing and building relationships. And I think that's going to be the thing that really anchors me this year in staying focused on only committing to the things that are most important to me. So I'd love to hear what are you thinking about working on for 2026? How was 2025? How are you wrapping the year, putting kind of the caps on it? And what are you thinking about moving into 2026? What's your focus for the year? What are you going to do? What are you going to achieve? Do you have a theme, something that you can kind of root back to whenever things do start to get off track or difficult? What value, what do you value about what you're working on that you can kind of go back and keep yourself motivated? I'd love to hear more.